final review. This is chapters 6, 7, 9, and 10. We did not do chapter 8. Number 1, simplifying the expression. What this means, remember there's no equal sign on this, so that means we're not solving anything. What we're doing is multiplying this out and combining like terms. So this is x minus 2 times x minus 2. So we use the FOIL method. Multiply our first terms, x times x, which gives us x squared. Our outside terms, x times negative 2, so negative 2x. Our inside terms, negative 2x. And then our last terms, negative 2 times negative 2 gives us a positive 4. And then we combine our like terms. Negative 2x plus negative 2x, or negative 2x minus 2x is the same thing. It's going to give us negative 4x. And we're going to drop down the x squared because it can't combine with anything. Drop down the plus 4 because it can't combine with anything. And that is our answer on number 1. This one was chapter 6. If you need to go back and look at any of that stuff. On to number 2. This is also chapter 6. This is having to do with the exponent laws and negative exponents. When we have a negative exponent, that takes the whole thing and basically moves it to the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to show you what that would look like, and then I'm going to rewrite it. So this is all going to be moved to the bottom, and then the fraction becomes positive. So if I rewrite this, this is going to be 9x to the third divided by negative 3x, and instead of to the negative 2, now it's going to be to the positive 2. Okay, so now we need to simplify. So we're going to get rid of these parentheses down here. I'm going to drop down the 9x to the third. So because we're multiplying inside of the parentheses, I'm going to show you how this works. You don't need to write it down. But this is basically negative 3x times negative 3x, which means I multiply negative 3 times negative 3, which gives me a positive 9, and then x times x, which gives me an x squared. So that's the same as this being put to the second power, so negative 3 to the second power, which is a positive 9, and x to the second. Now what can I simplify now that I have the parentheses gone? What's 9 divided by 9? 1. So those divide out. If I have x to the third, and this is how this one works, over x squared, those divide out to 1, those divide out to 1, and I'm left with just x, or x to the first. That particular rule, when you're dividing exponents with the same base, you subtract those exponents. So 3 minus 2 gives you 1, so x to the first. On to number 3. Factor to solve the quadratic equation. So this is chapter 7, and in factoring, you can use the box and diamond. You can use just the GCF, and in this particular case, the GCF, or the greatest common factor. What can we divide both x squared and 3x by? What's x? Yeah. So a lot of people have been forgetting the step where you actually do something with that x. So I'm not actually going to show it that way. So you take an x and you put it out in front. If you divide x squared by x, what do you have left? X. And if you divide negative 3x by x, what do you have left? 2x. You sure?
No, 3.
Negative 3. So this is going to be x minus 3. So basically what I'm doing is I'm undistributing that x. So now I use the zero product property because I'm multiplying x by x minus 3 to equal 0. And the zero product property tells us that when you multiply two things together to equal 0, you set both of those things equal to 0. Because 0 times anything will always give you 0. So this one is just x equals 0, and that's one of my answers. So x minus 3 equals 0. You're going to add both sides, or add 3 to both sides, so you have x equals a positive 3. All right. Factoring to solve the quadratic. So again, we need to factor this. This is chapter 7. You don't have to use the box and diamond method when your a equals 1. I'm going to go ahead and do that because a lot of you guys have become really comfortable with that. So, first term, x squared, or I should say the x squared term, and the number by itself, so the negative 5. Multiply those two to give you negative 5x squared, and you take your middle term, negative 4x, and put it on the bottom. Now, just to refresh you, what you're looking for is two numbers that multiply together to give you negative 5 and add together to give you negative 4. So our factors of 5 are 1 and 5 and 2 and 4. Nope, just kidding. They're just 1 and 5. So they're going to add together to give me negative and multiply them together to give me a negative. So one of those factors has to be negative. Is it going to be the larger or the smaller? The larger number, because you need to add together to give them a negative number. So 1x and negative 5x, those go in the boxes. Whoops. And then you factor out the greatest common factor from each column. Or actually, you can just do it from one column and then figure out from there where you need to go. So if I have negative 5x and x squared, both of those are divisible by x. That's the greatest common factor. X times x gives me x squared. X times negative 5 gives me negative 5x. And x times 1 gives me 1x. Whoops. That negative 5, sorry, does not need an x. That's just 5, because negative 5 times x gives you negative 5x.
I see something wrong. Oh, wait, no.
I fixed it, yep. And then 1 times negative 5 gives you negative 5. So I can rewrite this as x plus 1 times x minus 5 equals 0. Now, I am not finished because I need to use the zero product property to actually solve this, which means I set both parts, x plus 1 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0, and I'm going to pause. Okay, so now that I have these separated, x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, solve each of them separately. Subtract 1 from both sides, so x equals negative 1. Add 5 to both sides, so x equals positive 5. Those are my two answers.